Welcome back to the top six. That looks like someone's hiding behind KJ's camera. It just threw me. It's like he's got a body in his room under a blanket. Sorry, it threw me. Welcome back to the top six show, ladies and gentlemen. People tuning in of all ages from around the world. Hit the like button and subscribe. Lots of big stories. The Here We Go or the Ornstein Bomber is here for João Felix to Chelsea. Merino to Arsenal will complete tomorrow, according to sources today. And Silky Ilky, I did nick that from David, to be fair, Gündogan on his way back to Manchester City. Plus, we're reviewing the weekend's football and getting ready for tonight's big game between recent Premier League champions Leicester and never Premier League champions Tottenham as they take on Monday Night Football. We've got a brilliant panel for you today. Romz is here. Man like Nobbins is in the house. Sinead O'Connor is here with us. Giuseppe, a.k.a. Little Calafiori. We've got man like David here, who is 6'4", huge. But when you see him on camera, literally looks about 3 foot tall the way he slouches in his chair. Hey, that's better. And here he is, my brother and my business partner now, I can say. KJ is in the house. How are you all doing?
Yeah, good. Premier League started. Good results.
Nice to have a debut on the board already in the Premier League. Yes, you know what I'm saying, boys?
Points are overrated.
Yeah.
Can we all say the same or just a few of us? Or,
yeah. David can't.
It's coming.
We haven't
even
even
played.
So.
And about to say, he probably won't be able to either. You know what I'm saying?
We are going to review the weekend's football and talk about lots of things that happen, including Zirkzee's little bit of magic on his debut, slot ball coming alive. City just doing fucking City things. Do you get what I mean? Saka delivering. Loads to talk about. But I wanted to start off first. Felix to Chelsea is going to complete. I don't know whether or not they've announced the amount yet, but Mr. Ornstein has released the bomb that the deal is complete. It's going to be a 7-year contract. So essentially that is the rest of his footballing career at Stamford Bridge. David, what do you make of it, brother?
Again, I'm quite happy with it. I can't lie. I really enjoyed him when he was here. I'm going to hold my hands up. Obviously, his output needs to get better, but hey, if it works, it works. I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. I honestly, when he was here, I was watching like, if you could just finish, you'd be great. But that's like 5 of my forwards already. That'd be the only problem. 5 of my forwards are currently in the exact same position. So hopefully it works out. I'm sure our amazing scouting network has done its due diligence. And also, I get to get rid of he who shall not be named. He can go off to Atletico Madrid and stay there. So,
can I ask you this question? I have seen some theory. 36 million, everybody's saying it is. Yeah, 36 million is a good deal. Do you feel that Chelsea really want him? Or is this because they can spread that 36 million pounds over 7 years? So essentially this season it's costing you like 5 million pounds, but they get that 40 million on their books today for Conor Gallagher. Do you think it's that? Or do you think there's always been all summer a genuine interest in bringing this player back to Chelsea?
I do think the club did want him back, but I just didn't think he was very high on the list because it was like, we don't really need like his type of forward. Because to be honest, he is kind of a luxury player. Like he is kind of a luxury player. I'm hoping he comes good, but he is currently in his current form, he's a luxury player. But again, getting rid of he who shall not be named for pure profit is a W in my book. So
at least say his name. That's the least he deserves.
No, you don't deserve it. No, I'm sorry, you don't deserve it.
Your captain respects him.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have got a Felix without him. So
there's people that say he would have been your best midfielder yesterday against City if he played.
Yeah, and those people are stupid.
Those
people are stupid, bro. If Southgate says you can't cook in midfield, you can't cook. I'm sorry. Get him out.
David, it's back onto the Felix discourse though. You hit the nail on the head. I think the main thing now is output because we've not seen that boy from Benfica. We know, I think everyone agrees, a talented player, I think at Barca, Atletico Madrid, I think with Felix, his mentality hasn't always been there. And I feel like he wants to be the main man. Now, again, at Chelsea, I don't feel he will. But I feel he felt most comfortable in recent years at Chelsea because we saw his glimpses of his brilliance. But at Barca, I think kind of Gavi, Pedri, Lewandowski overshadow him. At Atletico Madrid, the rest did as well. But I feel like the reason why you've given him this 6-year contract as well, because I believe your board think they can get the best out of him because he's coming into his prime years. But you're spot on. I think his output needs to improve. I think his output, because the talent's there.
Romz, that last part before you finish, nah, man. It's not because they believe they can get the best out of him in the next how many years.
He's coming into his prime,
It's not that, bro. We all know what it is. Terry mentioned it before. It's the amortization so they can spend little this first year and spread it out throughout his contract. Because no one can sit and tell me they believe every single player that they've got on and signed on these death row contracts is because, you know what, we see them, we can get the best out of them in 7-8 years.
Robert Sanchez has got a 7-year contract.
Like Sanchez, I think it's just standard. It's a standard practice for Chelsea to give out these big contracts. Now, we've seen it, or I've said it already before. If this works out, this long contract business that they've been doing, it's going to look like a masterstroke in 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 years' time. You got them in early, got them on long, and boom, they've all hit the peak all at the same time, and now we're the best team in England, maybe even in Europe. That is the dream, right? But right now, the fruits are not coming out of their labor, and you've got to question, why are they doing this continually when they're not seeing results? I'm not saying don't sign Felix. He's a good player, but we've already seen throughout his career, he's up and down. He's maybe inconsistent, maybe not worth the hype. So why give him 6 to 7 years when really and truly a player like that, you give him a 3-year deal, maybe with an extra one, maybe a 4-year deal, and assess him in a short period of time because you might need to move him on real quick. It's going to be so hard to move him on if he doesn't work out now.
Yeah, I think Felix will be all right for Chelsea. I just can't understand if they then go and sign Osimhen now. I can't understand the reasoning for signing Felix when you've already got all these attackers and then signing Osimhen. You don't sign Osimhen now, it makes a lot of sense, right? But I think they're going to try and sign Osimhen still. So I believe what Terry said is true. I think they're just signing him because it's the only way for Gallagher to go the other way.
Now, I asked that question, but let me throw this out there as well, though. And this is maybe where Chelsea fans need to... Is it the red pill that you take when you want to know the truth?
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's red pilled, right? Yeah, red pill. Maybe the moment in time now for some Chelsea fans to take a red pill. It looks like they're really stacking their front line. You think, well, they've gone and bought Pedro Neto as an example. They've now got João Felix. They might go and get Osimhen. Yeah, because their front line isn't good. But I don't think if you take away the new signings that they've signed up front this year, Jackson isn't a very good football player. They don't obviously rate Sterling for whatever reason. We're going to get onto his situation in a minute. Madueke's got loads of ability, very little end product, as an example. Mykhailo Mudryk isn't the guy. I think most people, if we're putting our hand on our heart, know. But wait, he's old. He's at 24 years old. He's not a kid, Mudryk. I actually thought he was 21. It went until the other day. I looked and realized. I think he's 23, turning 24 this season, right?
Yeah,
the point is,
younger as well.
I don't think this is about overstacking the attack for Chelsea. I think this is about realizing their mistakes and looking at it and going, we don't have people with end product. And I get that you can put that question mark over João Felix, but he is going to create openings and opportunities with far more regularity than all the other players that I mentioned because he is superior to them. He doesn't have the goal output that I think a player of his ability should have. But when it comes to Madueke, when it comes to Sterling, when it comes to Mykhailo Mudryk, when it comes to Jackson, if Chelsea fans are being honest with themselves, hand on heart moment, maybe in a dark room where nobody else can hear, they are not Chelsea level. None of them. They're just not. They are not good enough in a month of Sundays to try and get Chelsea back to where they want to be. So when this all might make sense, they might bring in this player or two, and then you might see 2 or 3 really quick exits between now and the end of the window. That would make a hell of a lot of sense. Then I'd look at it and go, well, there's a plan there, isn't there? And it feels like there's going to be a lot of sales towards the end of this window. So maybe Chelsea have had to wait, but surely they can't be trying to go into this season with all those players in their attacking positions because that will create problems, even if it's just 3 or 4 not getting game time and becoming disgruntled. So this might be about replacing the tosh they've got up front.
Terry, you hit the nail on the head because obviously, as Row fans, it's fun to laugh at Chelsea, but they're going to have a lot of outgoings in their forward department. I think Datro Fofana will be gone by the end of the window. Armando Broja will be gone by the end of the window. Madueke possibly maybe on loan or a permanent sell, but again, I think he's on a death row contract, isn't he, David? But his wages are relatively low. And like you said, maybe Raheem, maybe. I think Sterling will stay, but maybe there could be an ex or a loan for him. So I think they're going to have a lot of outgoings as well. But I think you're spot on that. If you bring in an Osimhen and a Felix with an Nkunku and a Palmer and whatnot, I think that's strong enough to get top four because Chelsea, as when they play, they're not a bad team. I think if you're going to say they're a bad team and actually, I think they showed it yesterday. They didn't play that badly, but they're lacking that cutting edge. And I have to disagree with one thing you said, Terry. I think Jackson's a good footballer. He's just not a good finisher. His link-up play is actually very good, but he just can't hit. There's a dribble he did yesterday where it just looks like he's going through the motions. Everything looks slow motion. And it was like a P-roller to the keeper. And I was like, they need that finisher now. That Mark Gu guy is, again, prospect, but he's not there yet. So I think bringing in Felix isn't really a bad move for Chelsea. And you're spot on, Terry. I think it's just a step up in quality.
I was going to say, I think out of our forwards, the one who I'd ideally get rid of is Sterling because he's old and that man has no composure and he's 30. Don't know how that's happened.
Old and then 30, crazy.
I'm young. I can still do that. But now,
yeah, but David, just remember something. When we were out in Germany, these David really messed up. There's a beautiful young lady.
Oh my god!
That kept on wanting his attention, and he weren't picking up the signals. And then another group of ladies came and sat on our table, and they were asking like where we're from. We're chatting to them. They asked, they thought me and David were the same age. And I'm 38 and he's 22. And that's how haggard David looks.
Terry, I know you were doing cartwheels. You were like, yes.
No, they said I looked 28. I couldn't believe it. I nearly fell off my chair. But sorry, David, back to you. Sorry, bro.
I'd get rid of Sterling. I really like Madueke. And I have me and Mudryk, we've got I'm in the trenches with him. After that Liverpool game 1, I believe there's a player in there, and I'm just gonna hang on to it for.
We had Milner right back. Come on, David.
No, shush. That day he was looking like Hazard, bro. I believe
he did look good.
There's a player in there. I just need.
Yeah, I think you guys have got to let it go. There's a comment here that said Mudryk's going nowhere. Chelsea owe 60 million on him, and no one's paying that. But it's not all about sales. I think. Send them out on loan to somewhere that's easier than the Prem in Europe. As a good season, you might be able to recoup a fair amount of that money. I'm just telling Chelsea fans this now. Chelsea do not have the luxury of waiting for 2 or 3 players like Mudryk to get better. Yes, you're going into the 3rd year of your project. Yes, it's a new manager, but it's the 3rd year of what Clear Lake are trying to do. Huge investment has gone in. You need to start making a return on the football pitch. You need to get back towards the Champions League. You haven't got a year, 18 months for Mudryk and co to show they're good enough. I think what your club has to do is say, you know what? Because you all know, I know you're saying, David, but in your heart of hearts, you know.
No.
You know he ain't it.
If Mudryk played for Arsenal, I'd cook him every week. I get why people do it. Don't get it twisted. But I personally believe. But yeah, no, it wouldn't shock me if Mudryk ended up doing 2 years on loan and we sent him 30 mil. Wouldn't shock me. That wouldn't shock me.
The thing is, like Chelsea are in this position now where they have to sell. They need to. Like the amount of forwards, the amount of centre backs they've got, the amount of goalkeepers they've got to be selling. They've got to be loading real quick. But at some point, I know they're right now. The last few years they've been like, oh, Chelsea can sell real good. That will run out at some point because the myth that they've got all these amazing players will eventually die if they're not performing on the pitch. Like, no one's going to come to your door and be like, you know what, that Mudryk brother, I know you paid 80 million for him. Here's 60. No one's doing that. You know what I'm saying? No one's looking at Enzo Fernandez and saying in a year's time he doesn't cut it. It's like, you know what, you paid 115 million for him. You know what, here's 80. Because the spell that you've got on these clubs for your players is going to dissipate. because it's been happening for too long now. So it's a very dangerous game Chelsea are playing. I'm not saying it's going to completely fail. I'm just saying, as Chelsea fans, you have to keep an eye out on these things because this might come out the back to bite you in the arse hard financially.
It could. Kieran here says 36 million is an absolute snip. Could have been great yesterday in between the lines instead of Enzo. We need a world-class goalkeeper and striker. On that, like Henry, where do you think Enzo's been made the captain, which means he's predominantly going to start games? So if João Felix is really part of the plans, a player of his ability is going to start. He's going to start in that 10 role. Does that mean Caicedo's being dropped? They're not going to drop Lavia, surely. Lavia looks amazing right now. Who do you think misses out in the starting lineup? Because Enzo's definitely playing. You don't make someone captain and then keep them on your bench. It never happens. So who misses out, Lavia or Caicedo?
Probably Caicedo. But the question I've got is Chelsea have got a lot of attacking options going into the season, and they're not in the Champions League. So the rotation side of things, I think they could put out 11 of their 42 players they've got on loan or in their squad, and they'd beat 99% of the Conference League teams. But I don't think Felix is a better 10 than Palmer or Nkunku. I don't think he's a better wide player than Palmer or Nkunku. And I don't think he's a better 9 than Jackson. So I don't really get where he's going to play. Like, I think Caicedo will probably be the one that's dropped when they bring him in for the first few games. But I'm scratching my head over this in terms of, like, he's got a lot of ability, but he's had one good year in Portugal. Like, if you go through all of his years in Spain, at Atletico, at Barca, you know, even at Chelsea, the highest amount of goals he's got in a season is 8. Like, and you're brought into that team for output. So I don't really get where he's going to play. And as soon as he starts having 2 or 3 bad games, Chelsea's fan base, are like most fan bases, they'll get on his back. So I'm scratching my head over it, to be honest with you. But out of Lavia and Caicedo, I do think it would be Caicedo.
He's got insurance in the bank. Like Felix, in his 6 months, Chelsea fans loved him. So I'd be very shocked if people turned against him. I'd be very shocked, very shocked.
David, what season was it in again when you loaned?
It wasn't last year. It was the year before last, from January to April, or whenever the season finished.
David, I want a question for you. On Enzo, yeah. Do you think that it's the club that's saying, like, we've spent a lot of money on this guy, we want him to be the main guy, like one of the main guys at Chelsea, like, you got to kind of play this guy, make him captain? Or do you think it's the managers that seem to think this guy should be on the pitch all the time? Because I can't understand. I think if you ask anyone here who you would drop out of the Chelsea midfield right now, I think everyone in here would say Enzo, but they won't say Enzo. So
he's bulletproof in that fan base.
I genuinely think that he must be an amazing trainer. That is one thing. Like, he must be unreal in training, because I think he's really good, but he must do things in training that make managers think he can play further forward. Because I've always thought when Enzo was at his best, it was when he was playing a bit deeper, and it was his progressive passes, like breaking lines from deep midfield into, like, not to the forwards, but like to the midfielders further on. That's what I thought was his best attribute. But he must do things in training where he's like pinging the ball between like 2 midfielders, like through their legs, and it's just going perfectly to Nicholas Jackson, and then he puts it top corner, because for some reason everyone thinks he can play 10, apart from all the fans watching the football. So
he's done something clearly, because how he's gotten captain as well, on top of everything that's happened, is crazy.
I think the players really like him. I think if he was a bit of a character, and like half the squad liked him and half the squad didn't, and he did what he did in in the summer, then I think there would have been a lot more problems. Someone wouldn't do what they did in the summer, come back, do an apology, and then all the players who are cussing him out be hugging him in the matches like the next day. If he wasn't that, because I think they must get on, like they must do. Because if it was me in that position, no one's gonna force me. I can be like, okay, cool, he's here, but I don't have to like him. No one's gonna force. I can't force the love on the pitch. But these players clearly get on with him. So,
David, can I say though, if Maresca continues to play him in that 10, you need to give him the same corner. Not you personally, but Chelsea fans need to give him the
No,
same
no, I
corner.
agree.
Because we were hearing all year, Poch is playing him in a 10, Chilwell left wing, whatnot. If he continues to play Enzo in this 10 role, you have to.
No, if he does, he has to get cussed. He has to get cussed.
No, I agree with that, and we're going to get onto Chelsea and their play a little bit later. Obviously, some other big. We're going to come back to Chelsea a bit later in the show, so stay with us. Another big bit of transfer news today, Nobbins. Gündogan wants to leave Barcelona.
He's coming home.
Yes, and City have now made. I mean, this interesting report from Fabrizio has confirmed that City have made an approach. On top of that Barca journalist, that Gerard, whatever his name is, has stated that Barcelona have wanted a swap deal with Rodri. It's been rejected, and now you guys are calling in your debt on the Ferran Torres deal. Otherwise, you're going to basically take them to court over the bad debt. That's just what he said on his YouTube channel. Somebody sent me the link. But Ilkay Gündogan could be coming home, Nobbins. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, well, I've been saying for like a year now that City need a Gündogan replacement, and as it transpires, the perfect Gündogan replacement was Gündogan all along. Who would have thought? There was a pretty significant Gündogan-sized hole in our squad last season. I know we won the league despite that, but there were still nevertheless big problems at City. As I say, we didn't sign a replacement. We tried to sign Bellingham, didn't work. Tried to sign Rice, didn't work. Tried to sign Paquetá, didn't work. Brought in Núñez, panic buy, in my opinion. And now, nearly the end of the transfer window, are we getting Bruno Guimaraes? Are we not? Are we getting X-player? Are we not? And it would literally be, from a sentimental perspective, obviously, but also just from a genuine tactical perspective as well. As long as the deal is structured well, like it's a short-term thing, rather than like a multi-year deal thing. It's like a 1 year, 2 years at the max. It's like a perfect signing, to be honest. You sign him now, and then next summer he either leaves or he becomes more of a squad player, and you bring in the long-term replacement, whether that's Bruno Guimaraes, Adam Wharton, whoever. If we sign him, I will, because I've been 50-50 on who's going to win the title, Arsenal or City. I haven't committed either way yet. I've been waiting for the transfer window to end. And if we make that signing,
is that you, Ches? Sorry, I'm just used to Ches telling me he's going to play first for a decision. Sorry.
Well, I'll say it now. If we sign Gündogan, I'll be very convinced that City win the title and win it quite comfortably.
Can I ask? Do you think Gündogan coming in? I hear the sentimental side, and I actually rate him, and I wouldn't even be mad at Arsenal getting him alongside Merino.
Yeah, you wish. Chill out.
But do you worry that he comes back and he's had another year added to his age and that playing in Spain, and that comes back to Premier League and he's not as impactful for you?
No, I watched some Barcelona last season, and I also watched the Euros, and he was one of Germany's best players. He still got it. He's going to be 34 in October. This is not a washed player. This is not an old player. This is not like a player coming back for purely sentimental reasons. He's still one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the world at the end of the day. As I say, this is not someone who's past his best, but he's not like in this ridiculous amount of decline. He is, as I say, one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the world, brilliant box crasher that can play in every single phase of the game. 6, 8, 10 doesn't really matter. And he provides that balance to City squad. As I said, the only question marks I would have on it are length of the deal. It's got to be a short-term deal, and it also must not impact Foden's minutes centrally, because he's, based on last season, he must play in midfield like every single game. It would be ideal, to be honest. He's still got it. He's still a wonderful footballer.
Yeah, it's a perfect stopgap, because I don't know what Man City want to do with their midfield, like where they want to go. Obviously, they tried the Bellingham, tried the Rice, like I said, and the Núñez, I thought would potentially be something different for your midfield to have, someone who's really good at driving the ball at pace and making things happen in that way, but it just hasn't worked out. So bringing Gündogan back, it's not like when Man United brought back Ronaldo after all those years away. You clearly see he's at the back end of his career. He was only there 2 years ago, quote unquote, Gündogan. And bringing him back, I do think City will do like a year loan or maybe like a 2-year deal, just so that he can be there, help the squad. Because one thing that Gündogan was so good at, he was so clutch. He was so clutch for Man City, especially when no one else
Rom knows all about that.
And you know what I'm saying?
See, you didn't have to say that. No, come on.
I know I didn't have to, but it was about desire.
You've even got a song. You've even got a song after him saying Scouser's guy. It was annoying.
But like he's so clutch for you guys. And I think this season, more than any, you're going to need those clutch moments more because 5 in a row is going to be very difficult. Arsenal's going to be on your ass. And you haven't made signings that maybe everyone else thought you would have to advance your squad for. Because he is aging. De Bruyne, Walker. You can go through everyone. And most of those players have been there for a long time and they're getting on in terms of age. So, yeah, you're going to need a refresh. But right now, it looks like you're not going to be doing anything significant from what we can see. Gündogan, perfect stopgap because he already knows the system anyway. So it's not going to be a massive adjustment period for him either.
Yeah, exactly. And he doesn't have to play every single game as well. Like we do have a squad at the end of the day. And yeah, I totally agree. Ari stopgap. As long as the thinking is, okay, and next season, that's when we will spend big on X player. Again, whoever that may be. We didn't fancy the price tag of Bruno Guimaraes. I thought that was a mistake. Maybe next season it'll be more amicable. Maybe next season we go for Adam Wharton or, again, someone like that. And then Gundogan's phased out or is given a coaching role or whatever. But in terms of like, if the point is, or rather, if the choice is no signing or Gündogan for a year or two, I know which one I'm picking every single time.
Do you not think you've got someone in the City squad already that can step up next season? Like O'Reilly or someone like that in the midfield?
O'Reilly is very, very young. I think he's either 17 or 19. He's nowhere near ready yet, if indeed he ever will get.
James
McAtee?
Yeah.
Yes, good player. I actually thought, when I saw him and Palmer, flashes for them at City, I actually preferred McAtee as a player, to be honest. So there's a very good player in there, but he's a very different sort of player to a Gündogan. I don't know if McAtee would ever develop into that all-round midfielder. I think McAtee's future is destined more higher up the pitch, to be honest. So I think that unless it's an academy player I'm unaware of, probably not. And again, we need someone who's able to win now because City are City and they want to win now, and that's why my number one choice is Bruno.
Do you think Gündogan will be your last signing? Do you not think you bring a forward in?
I'm of the view we don't need a forward because I know Bob broke his leg, which is very unfortunate. But if Hojlund's out, we can play false nine. We've got Foden who can do it brilliantly. If we bring in Gündogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, these players all did this a couple of years ago, in the 2020-21 season or that 2-year period where he played false nine. So I think it would be a mistake to bring in like a backup 9 who barely plays because Haaland's going to play every single game. And then the real question becomes, if they're happy to sit on the bench, then are they really of the quality that City are after? Surely a player of that quality would want to be playing. But then you're in a situation with Alvarez where he just wants to leave because he knows he needs to be starting. So I'd rather we just have a more balanced, fluid forward line, to be honest, which I say Bob false 9, Foden false 9, etc.
That's fair.
Yeah, makes sense. I think it's a good returning player, as KJ said. It's not as though he's been away for 5-6 years, well past his best, and it's sort of coming back for nostalgia. I'm not too sure on his reasons for wanting to leave. I haven't really read those articles today. I just saw that you guys were looking at him, but I'm not surprised he's leaving Barca. They're still a bit of a mess. They look like.
I saw a report. Apparently, he doesn't actually want to leave. It's the Barca hierarchy trying to force him out. That's what I was seeing as well. So I wouldn't be surprised either. Because
they tried doing that
probably.
Yeah, they tried doing that to De Jong a couple of seasons ago, but nobody else, including Man United, was willing to pay him the £700,000 a week wages he was on. But they accepted that bid. So we again, I keep getting told by weirdos online that Barca don't have financial difficulties, and yet. It's so like they come in my DM and go, "Why are you lying about our finances?" I'm not, bro. I'm listening to your owner. Do you know what I mean? They're forcing players out because they can't afford to register others, but there's no issues. It's weird.
But Terry, don't you find it weird? We've been hearing for like 3-4 years now that Barca don't have money, but they almost still sign players every summer.
So as I said, they've got money, but they've got issues. What I'm saying is they are sailing so close to the wind that. The fact they're having to force people out. I swear last summer they signed 2 or 3 players but didn't register them for like 8 weeks until they had raised more money, as an example. So they're sailing very close to the wind all the time when it comes to these players. And
you bought that Victor Rock. Is it Rock? Rook?
He's Brazilian.
Yeah, they bought him last season. The man tried to ship him out already. It's
they're
crazy.
not selling academy players. That's what Madrid, because their C team comes after 18 months, goes into the B team, and then you eventually move into the first team and they sell the academy player. Barca aren't selling academy talent.
But that's all I got.
That's the you'd think that if a bid come in for Gavi or Pedri, that if it's a decent fee, they take it, but they're not selling anyone.
Because they can't. Those are the academy players are their best players. So to get rid of them, to get this money sort of position now, but you can't replace them.
And KJ, correct me if I'm wrong. I swear they put like Gavi and Pedri on astronomical what do you call it? Release clauses.
Yeah,
their release clauses.
Yeah,
they're crazy.
That league's like that in general, though. Militao's got an 850 million release clause. No one on planet Earth is ever going to pay 850 million pounds for Militao.
Yeah, it wouldn't cost that much either, but that's just to stop anybody from. If PSR and FFP rules disappeared, Newcastle's owners might, because that's still chump change to them. They're every other billionaire owner. That's a lot of money to those mofo's. That is literally. Let me just check my wallet for a second. Do you know what I mean? And they've got that. Some super chats here. First one says, "Oh, Henry, though you're a Spurs fan, don't let Lee grind you down. Keep doing you. We'll keep watching your content. Still hope you lose tonight. Come on, you Gooners. Great panel.
I'll win tonight, easy. A big up, Jason, for the comment.
What's Lee been doing to you?
Oh, just, usual stuff on Twitter. Everyone's probably seen it.
It's all just banter, mate. It's all just banter, I assume. It's all just banter. Enzo is £100 million problem. I am not afraid to say it. Henry, you are wrong. A lot of Chelsea fans have stopped defending him.
Have they?
The tide is slowly turning.
I think
it is slowly turning, but I think it's still 70-30, as in 70 are in the defense of him.
I don't know. I see it's 50-50, man. Like,
yeah,
I can turn one way. I turn, someone's defending him. The other way, someone's saying he's the worst player ever.
This here says, same guy. Says perhaps Felix will be used on the left wing a few times. And Nkunku isolated Rico Lewis and struggled to beat him.
He was.
I think that's why
Nkunku is not a one-on-one winger. If you're going to play him on the wing, he's got to drift back.
What, is he not a 1v1 demon like that?
He's not a 1v1 demon like
that.
Get rid of Gallagher, but yet keep Mudryk. Yeah, David. Yeah, you're getting cooked for that. Brother.
No. If I've got Mudryk is hope. He who shall not be named. I know what that is.
David,
you're worse than them people that say, "Oh, number 35" or number whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
David, you had a whole banner in the Matthew Harding and respect.
I didn't agree with it. I was like, "Why are they doing that?" Acting like he done something. He ain't done nothing.
A death row contract at Chelsea is what Joshua Jack says. Craig Lee says Chelsea are the Wish version of the Galacticos.
They're trying to build City's academy, I feel like. Signed Palmer, signed Adebayo. There was another one that you've signed. Lavia. Yeah. You tried to get Bob. And next you'll be up for you're trying to sign Rico Lewis next. Less of that.
I'd love Bob.
Your academy is flipping mint, bro. It's so frustrating.
Do you know what? A question for the panel there. In these long contracts for Chelsea players, don't you feel there has to be certain clauses that if we don't get Champions League football in 2 years' time, then we can let the players go for a certain amount? Because this is crazy. Palmer's has to have a clause like that. Champions League football.
I don't think I think maybe wages get reduced, which is pretty standard for most contracts by footballers at high clubs, but I don't think there's a release clause.
For the players, it's win-win for the players. Let's say you go in there on $100,000 a week, 8 years, and you're awful. You're guaranteed $100,000 a week for the next, say, 7 years. If you're really, really good and you perform like Palmer, but Chelsea don't get better overall, somebody's willing to pay the big money to get you out of that long contract. But I think, and then you're going to go to a club where you're earning even more. I think for a lot of these footballers, if you're doing well on a bad team, someone's going to buy you at some stage. if you're doing badly, you ain't going to want to leave, because if you're Mahalo Mudryk, I don't know what he earns.
Sterling.
Some people say he's on,
70 grand a week, isn't it?
So he's on 70 grand a week. Like,
I could be
based on
wrong,
his
though.
performances in the last 8 months, I don't think there's a team in England that would buy him. And I don't think there's a team in Europe that would pay him anywhere near as much as that. So it all depends on the character of a player. Say he gets to 26 and Chelsea are like, do you know what? We gave him another 2 years. It hasn't worked. He's sitting there with 4 or 5 years left on his contract. He might sit there and go, I ain't leaving to get paid 20 grand a week to play in the Eredivisie. I'm not leaving to get paid 30 grand a week to play in Portugal. I'm staying. And so I don't think the players are that worried. A lot of them have secured, you've got to think, an 8-year deal worth £5-6 million a year. It's great for them. I just don't think they're worried at all. I think it's win-win for the players. The only time, I've said it all along, the only time this goes wrong for Chelsea is if not enough of these youngsters develop into the players their talent suggests, because then you're left with what is a bad debt, because you're never going to get a return on that investment ever.
Terry, the prime example of this is Raheem Sterling. Not really performed to the level he should have. What did he have? 2-3 years left, David? He's thinking, I'm the highest paid player. Let me just chill. I'm in London. Let me literally just chill. I'm not in a rush.
250, 300 grand a week. Again, yeah, the only place on planet Earth he's getting that kind of money if he moved now would be the
Saudi.
MLS or Saudi. Yeah, they're the only two places that would pay him that. Transfer ban incoming for Chelsea, surely, is what that guy Whale says. That guy.
They won't get a ban, but it's just it's a really dangerous strategy, because if they don't start getting Champions League football money in, that the maths isn't mathing. Like if they have another couple of bad years, finishing anywhere between 8th and 12th, Palmer's going to be going, well, hang on, I'm not standing around here, and Kunku's going to be thinking the same.
Man United to Parma. Man United to Parma. Summer of 2025, baby.
Hey,
Summer of 2025.
If you give us 200 mil, have it. He'll still have 6 years left on his contract at that point. So.
Yeah, but this is also for Chelsea. Like, Chelsea fans think it's scaremongering, but I think you guys are in a really interesting position. You make the Champions League this year, like the likes of Don are predicting that you'll do. I don't think you've got any worries. If you don't start making proper European football again, even someone like Parma that's worth a lot of money, you guys will hit financial troubles, because you're not going to have the academy players to sell for 100% profit. You're going to have to end up selling your actual good assets. And then no club's going to come in and go, we'll give you 200 million. It will be, there's 80, there's 90. So, but if you win, it's great. I think it's going to either be really good for, I've said it for about 6 months now. Things are going to get really good for Chelsea or really bad for Chelsea. I don't see you being anywhere in the middle. It's either going to be brilliant or awful. It's a little bit like what's the word I'm looking for? You're smart, Nobbins. What's it like? Not do or die. Something called bust. It's like you're either going to win big or go bust. It's almost who will bust. That's the one. That's the saying. That's what I was thinking. David, you're smart as well. I forgot you're an engineer. Sorry. I'm not going to ask him. I'm not going to ask Essex boy Henry. Like, do you know what I mean?
Cheers, mate.
Nah, could you remind me a little bit like Joey Essex? Like, you're a little bit like
I'm from the same county.
Nah, just you're stupid.
You used to work in it. Does that make you Joe Essex as well?
No, I mean, but I went on holiday to America. Does that make me American? Like, a bit because I've been there. Yeah, do you know what I mean? See, that example proves it. But the funniest thing I ever saw that Joey Essex do years ago, he was on Celebrity Juice, and they said to him, what country is connected to England? And instead of saying Wales, he said Russia.
Yeah. That's got to be a parody, surely.
I used to think maybe, if it ever turns out he's put this on the whole time, he should be awarded like an Oscar. Like, they should just do a special category for him and call it the Joey, right? And it's because that would be amazing. Sasko here says, I just wish we could go back to the days where fans don't know anything about transfer dealings, money spent, etc. Too many dumb takes on the topic, and everyone's saying the same thing. I agree to a certain extent, even though I enjoy the content around it. It is, do you know, it isn't even the stories. It's the stories don't even get time to flower anymore. You'll get a journalist in the Mirror that will say, I've just heard that Arsenal might be putting a bid in for Gündogan. And before Gunners could even get excited about it maybe happening, Ornstein goes, no, it ain't happening. And everyone goes, oh. I used to like it when a story would come out and nobody would challenge it. It just got left alone. It was more fun then because you were like, what's happening, what isn't.
When you used to watch Sky Sports News, it'd have like the in, like who's coming in, and it's got like names you see, and you're like, I didn't know this person. I didn't know we were in for that guy.
Yeah. I used to, again, I said the last 3 years, it's really changed. Like, up until then, I'd still enjoy the transfer window. But it's just the news comes out so quickly now. But then it's like, let it cook a little bit. Sometimes, even though I don't think there's a story that came out today that got shut down straight away from Fabrizio. From a decent source in Spain, it said, Man United might still come in for De Jong. But straight away, all the big boys that everybody trusts shut it down. And I'm like, nah, I miss the old days where you'd read it on the back of a newspaper and be excited for a week or two. Yeah, it's don't take our dreams away. Stop killing our dreams.
Even on the flip side, if a story comes out there that, I'm not believing it till Ornstein or Fabrizio says anything on it. So
it's all about credibility now, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. But then it goes the other way as well. Like you can't please all the people all the time. I'm not even an in the know person, but I get the amount of DMs. Are you going to update on this story today? You're going to update on that? So I'd love to hear your take on this. And a lot of people just want the video out so they can interact in the comment section with each other. It's part of our community. It's great. Sure, but you spoke about this deal 4 days ago. Yeah, I know I did, but now Ornstein's given an update on it, and it's what I do. I give updates on what's going on for the community. But why? Because we talk about football in it. It's just, again, the world is weird. The world is weird. Love David talks a lot of sense about Chelsea. We didn't lose yesterday because of Enzo. We lost because we had no killer up top and a lack of threat. On Chelsea's game yesterday versus Man City, before we move on to other subjects, Nobbins, as a City fan, what was your take on it? Because there are some Chelsea supporters that feel they were really close to being at your level and it was just a lack of finishing. Or do you feel that City kind of just toyed with their food a little bit and played well within themselves?
I thought Chelsea did okay. City are obviously not at the level that we know they can be, because City notoriously tend to start the season very slowly. Like Pep loves giving his players long breaks. That's why Foden wasn't able to start and that sort of thing. But yeah, I thought Chelsea were all right. I thought City deserved the win, though. I thought Pep got the better out of Maresca tactically. Maresca couldn't really cope with he couldn't figure out how to deal with the fact that Pep basically played De Bruyne as a left winger, and that dragged Chelsea's midfielders over to our left. And then that meant that Doku or Savio just had acres of space in the centre, and that's actually how the first goal was scored. And he wasn't able to figure that out throughout the entire game. So it'll be a steep learning curve for Maresca in this Premier League season. But yeah, overall, I thought it was fine. I thought Lavia looked really good, for example. I thought he played really well. Enzo, we've touched on, he looks lost. Not concerned about Palmer this season, but I just don't think he's going to have the same output as last season, because he's clearly a player who thrives in more loose, chaotic systems, if you will. That's why I think he did quite well for England, for example. Whereas Maresca is the opposite of that, and he will have a very set structure and a very set style of playing. Like, no, you will position yourself here, and this will be your very specific role, much more like what Pep does or what Arteta does. So that it'll be interesting to see how he copes. Not saying he'll have a bad season by any means. I just don't know if he'll have the same influence or output. But overall, first game, I thought, yeah, they're all right. They were fine.
Wow,
how about yourself?
A balanced view. Oh my God, Jesus Christ!
It's the football terrorists. A lot of they're not all. Well, the football terrorists is balanced, because we had like the two opposite ends of the spectrum from people yesterday. I've had a lot of stick for saying that I felt City dominated with ease, and that people were like, they're so disrespectful, and I don't think it is, because I praised Lavia. I praised some passages of play that Chelsea had, and they had a few periods where they looked good. But the second half's a prime example. There was, from the 55th to the 65th minute, Chelsea looked dangerous and could have scored. And then City got hold of the ball and they barely gave it back. And they certainly didn't let you have it after that in any dangerous areas. And I know, and what I got challenged with in the comment section today was, but Terry, are you saying Chelsea were playing at their optimum best? I think Chelsea were trying their best, but we don't know how good your optimum best is yet, because it's a new manager. But with City, I think, if we're all honest, if they had to, so again, we only would have found this out if Jackson would have kept himself on side. I think if Chelsea equalised, I think City had levels they could go up in that game. And that's not a disrespect to Chelsea. That's just the difference between Chelsea and Man City now. What I think is ridiculous is anybody that's claiming that Chelsea were only a finish away, a decent striker away from being up to City's level yesterday. Yeah, you were a striker away from being at City's level at first gear, but City could then up it. And I just think the way that's being disregarded by some people, I don't think it's good for your team and its development either. You don't need that seeping into your dressing room. You want to see so much more, because what I did think there was a lack of in the last 20 minutes was urgency. I was watching it and a goal was not coming in any capacity.
The substitutions were really weird. Like, he took off their best player, Lavia, and then from there, in like the 70th minute, whenever it was, and then from there, City just like, that's when it was playing with their food, and like Chelsea couldn't get a foothold in the game. It was a really odd decision. I don't know if there was like an injury or whatever. It was a really odd decision because Lavia was really impressive.
No, Novin, do you know what makes your team even scarier this year? And Terry, you like this analogy. City remind me of a boxer that can fight orthodox or southpaw. As in, they can now go direct with your Savios and Dokus, or you can be more controlled based with a Grealish or a Bernardo. Like, you can just mix it up now, and I think that's worrying, especially for Giuseppe's club up here. I just think that's now worrying now, because they can beat a lot of clubs in many different ways, and then you got Pep at the helm of it. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
No, I agree. And I do love the analogy as well. And a few people are saying, Terry,
I knew you would. You're fighting.
No, it's great. I like it. A few people are saying to me, Terry, it's the first game. I'm aware of that. I'm not writing. This is it. So David said balance. My view is balance. I'm not writing Chelsea off. I'm not saying they're not going to get any better. I'm not stating they were dreadful and awful, but I do believe that City dominated the game. You had a lot of possession. 95% of your possession was in very
not threatening
in areas, non-threatening areas.
A lot of it was holding it around the back and passing it along.
And I remember, by the way, Man United doing that against City last season. We had loads of possession in the first half, but it was just our centre backs passing it around, going back to the goalie, going in midfield. We weren't penetrating at all, and Chelsea were better than that, and I've praised them for it. But I think what's important to help your team develop is realism. Don't overgas the good things, and don't exaggerate the bad things at this particular juncture. And balanced views are hard to come by. But
I've got a question for the Chelsea fans though, because I have heard the same thing now for 3 years. Oh, look how many chances we had. If only we had a striker, we could be scoring goals and we could win in games. Oh, look at all these chances we missed, and now we could concede because of the defense failing at their job. So, what's really changing at Chelsea? Because I keep every season hearing about the change that's happening at Chelsea. This person's running the show. This manager's now doing the thing. This manager's now going to change the way we play, and we're going to be X, Y, and Z. But what I saw today was no different from Poch, which was no different from Potter. And that's just personally. Lots of good possession, lots of chances, no finishes. So I want to know what's the difference? What is changing at Chelsea on the pitch? Because I'm actually struggling to see what the difference is, because I'm hearing and seeing the same
personally,
thing.
I think again, it's Maresca's first game. But from what I saw yesterday, I am very excited about what it could become. However, it is going to take time, because it is just like it's completely brand new system.
Wasn't this also the same thing that happened with Poch at the start of the season?
I no, but the thing is, again with Poch's system, I felt like I could see the ceiling. If you get me, like I'm looking at Poch's team, going, okay, if we had a certain like level of player, we might be better. But ultimately, I think we are capped at a certain level, because against Liverpool, we far out teamed them in like a final, but ultimately it was just, oh, I'm scared now, and we're just going to hold back. And whether people wanted to agree with it or not, even though I don't think Poch should have been sacked, I don't think Poch was the manager who could win us a league. If you understand what I'm saying, is Maresca that guy? I'm not sure, but I don't know, because I don't know anything about Maresca. I can't judge him. The only thing I can judge him off is he's part of Pep's coaching tree, and the only other manager who's come out of Pep's coaching tree is currently second to Pep in the Premier League. So,
do you think he'll get the time?
I hope he does. He's been given 5-year contracts, and if I'm being honest, I don't think we can afford to sack him in 6 months. I don't think you can. I genuinely think it's at the point where it's like, we can't. If we sack him, we've got to give 20 mil to him, 10 mil to to what's his name to Kudachini, who's in the back. Then we've got to give 5 mil to Caballero. We don't have the money to be doing this. We can't do it anymore. So I genuinely hope it's one of those things where it's like there's someone at that club who's like there's a button somewhere and it's like sack manager, because there's got to be, because we just do it too frequently. And I hope someone's got Todd Bowley and they've got like handcuffs around him and said, you cannot touch this button. It's locked away. Don't even worry about it. Even if genuinely, if we finish 8th this year, but I can see progression. Honestly, it depends how it looks. But I will be like, I need another 12 months before I make my decision on Maresca. Just because again, when it was Pep in his first season finished 4th. Arteta in his first season finished 8th. So
yeah, I think he deserves time, as every new manager does at a team. But it's just one of those ones that it's not about Maresca per se. It's more about Chelsea as a club and the fans, because what you guys say and what happens on the pitch is are two different things.
I get that. I can only speak for myself. Me personally, I know I can have that patience. Why? Because I had it last year. I was like, even when we lost to Arsenal 4-0 and I was there, like, the performance is questionable, I still wait Poch out. I know myself I can do it. My fan base, though,
yeah.
I don't think so. Because they're crying about Conor Gallagher and Trevor Chalobah every week.
I hear you on that.
Come on, bro.
I think this is a challenge to me here from Dinge, who says Chelsea's XG was 1.23 and City's was 8.2. Look, there's a few things on that. XG tells a story, but you also have to look at the overarching performance, and that it doesn't negate what I said. So I didn't say Chelsea didn't create. I didn't say Chelsea didn't have good moments. I didn't say Chelsea couldn't have scored. I think City could have upped their performance levels at the drop of a hat, which would have changed this. That XG is fine, and it's probably fair if you're someone that agrees with XG. But I'm saying I think Chelsea could have gone up levels as and when they wanted to in that game. You see this again. I'll go back to boxing. You see it in boxing sometimes. You see it. You don't really see it in MMA. It's a different sport, but you see it in boxing where sometimes people are just. They're not even that good. And it's because they're boxing in first gear. They win the fight. And you might think that was a crap fight. And that's because the fighter weren't even that up for it. I've seen Tyson Fury do that on a number of occasions when he fights lower level people. He just isn't quite there. I've seen Anthony Joshua do it before. He's in the ring and you think, how's it taken him 7 rounds to get this bum out the ring? And it's because sometimes you're almost toying. You might even be working on techniques in a real fight because it's real. And yeah, you have to judge it on all those things. And I'm not saying Chelsea should be written off. I'm just stating that City were well within themselves in that game, and that has to be taken into consideration personally.
It's also a question of it's also a question of game states, because if City concede a goal, as you say, then they will go out and try to score another goal. Therefore, the XG swing is totally different. But they didn't concede a goal. Therefore, they didn't have to go seeking another goal, so they can just concede more XG. So yeah, just to your point, that's correct.
No, I completely agree. Is it just me, or does Henry look like the WWE wrestler James Ellsworth if he had some facial hair on his chin?
Who the hell is
That's a violation.
To be fair, they also think he looks like a young Roy Hodgson.
No, mate. Terry, Google the name of that. Google the name of that James Ellsworth.
Because I don't watch wrestling. James
Ellsworth. I've actually never heard of this guy. I've never heard of
this absolute piss.
Oh my God! Look at him. Oh my God!
Is there a way we can get him on screen?
I'm gonna put him on.
You don't want to look, mate.
Yeah. Just pop him where my face is, so we can get a side by side with Henry. If possible.
I'm gonna put it in big on the screen in a minute. I'll add it to a graphic really quickly. But that is the man. He looks like an extra from Deliverance. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying you look like him, Henry. I'm sorry, bro, but oh wow.
You need to go file for defamation for that one, mate.
Oh mate.
Wow.
No. Oh my God. Henry, personally, I wouldn't have that one. I wouldn't have it, bro.
Especially when he had his hair dyed. Like when he had his hair dyed, like it's uncanny. It's uncanny.
Why has he got no chin?
It's loaded. It's uploading now because I have to add it to an overlay. Just bear with me a second. That's it. That's him.
Oh,
What?
I can see it. I can see it.
of course you can. Of course you
You
can.
can see it. What are you chatting about? You can see it. You're taking the absolute piss.
Hang on a minute. You have got a bit of. Hang on. You have got a little bit of air on your chin. Like lift your head up like this. Lift your head up.
You're not taking the absolute.
Look up at the ceiling a little bit for us.
Yeah, do your best impression of a worm.
Henry, I've got you back, man. I've
That's
got you
crazy.
back now, man. That's
No, my favourite one for Henry is that they say because he's got quite dark eyes, he looks like Uncle Fester. I quite like that one.
That one's funny, but that crackhead.
You look like a cracker.
Yeah.
That cracker.
Crackhead.
He looks like a crackhead.
Oh, crackhead. I thought you said that cracker. I ain't heard that word in ages. Super chat here says, if Arsenal don't win the Premier League, can they outpace a rapidly rebuilding Chelsea and Man United next year? We'll come back to that question when we get onto Arsenal in a bit. Love Andy talks. Love Andy. I think David talks about Chelsea. Yes. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, bro. And Felix is the type of player to get a manager sacked. Chelsea are just acting on impulse and buying everything available. I am honestly trying to understand this owner. #Arsenal for life.
I don't get this. I don't get the Felix signing. I don't like it. I've said it before. They're doing it for financial reasons. So if you're making a football transfer not for footballing reasons, but to balance out a balance sheet, I think fundamentally that's a bad signing. To be honest.
All I'm saying is he might be a good player. 7-year contract. If he flops in the first 2 years, have good luck trying to get rid of him.
I've got to go now, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Nobbins. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it, brother. Man United won our first game of the season on Friday. First game of the rebuild, which we were all very excited about. And it seems to have left a little bit of a sour taste in some rivals' mouths over the course of the weekend, which was interesting to see. But KJ, what was your thoughts on Man United now after a few days of reflection?
Oh yeah, like it was an okay start. Like we had spells where we could see that we're trying to attack more, trying to get better, use the width a lot better than we have over the last season, and we actually controlled it for a good portion, especially in that first half. I was very happy with the performance in that little section, and then the second half came along, and that's when obviously everyone's bombs tightened, and it was like, okay, this is shades of last season. And it just really showed that we need these midfielders in like ASAP. I think we need to get better at controlling the ball in the midfield. I feel like there's times where we like to rush with the ball in the midfield a bit too much, like Casemiro sometimes. Great, he had a good performance yesterday, but there's times where we needed the ball on the floor, a little bit of composure, and man's trying to pass it first time into no man's land. So there's a lot of improvements still that Man United need, but as a base, first game of the season, you would take a win, and you can see the places where we need to improve on. And all I'm going to say is, Joshua Zirkzee, my flipping brother, that finish is a finish that I can honestly say only him is doing, because he's got those kind of instincts. He's got that kind
in
of
our
flair
team,
and technical
in the Man United.
Yeah. But not overall.
No, I had to do that, KJ, because you know what the comment section is.
Yeah. In that Man United team, he's the only one that can do that finish. Rashford can't, Garnacho can't, Rasmus would try to, but he's not got that kind of finesse to do that. He's a very classy player. You can tell from the few touches he had, from the turns, from the passes, and that finish, that there's a classy player in there. And I think we can get a good result when he's on the pitch. I really do, because he facilitates play. KJ. He makes good runs, and I think he will link up well with the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, and Garnacho.
I don't think people realize how difficult that finish was to guide it and caress it mid-air. And it's always about moments as well. Like you said, I think PTSD was seeping in certain United fans from the 80th minute. I would say the substitutions weren't that positive. I think Ten Hag, in my personal opinion, was trying to see out the game, other than the Zirkzee sub. I think the rest kind of indicate to me is, you know what? Let's just not lose. I want to win, but let's not lose. And I think
he put McTominay. So that's not really a.
You know what? Actually,
is.
KJ, I'm being a hypocrite because I said to my mate, I'm being a hypocrite because I did say to my mate, McTominay winner. I didn't think it would be Zirkzee. I thought he McTominay.
In
So
fairness, though, I
This is
just want to say very quickly, the reason why Mazzawari was taken off is he did one training session, and Maguire pulled his calf. So, just I mean, it's one of those that he wouldn't have brought two defenders on had Maguire not hurt himself. So that's why we had to do it.
You know what, Terry? You've applied the content, but it's just fun. I hate your club.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, but listen, to score in that moment on his debut, I don't want no pun intended, but that's what dreams are made of. Do you know what I mean? That in that moment to score that goal. And I said I didn't want Zirkzee going to you lot because I said there's a baller there. And I think there's a fear that he could displace Hojlund. I know he's paid a lot for Hojlund, but listen, there's no time for sentiment. If he's better than Hojlund, you're going to start him.
All I'm going to say is, why does it have to be a fear when both those players bring something so different from each other?
True.
If you put them on the same pitch, it wouldn't be like, oh, they're getting in the way of each other. It'd be like, actually, this works out well, especially where that Zirkzee drops deep and Rasmus makes runs in behind.
And
I'm happy with those two.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
And that fear shouldn't sit with Man United fans. That fear should sit with rivals, because if Zirkzee displaces him, it means we're improving. So what Man United fan in their right mind would be fearful of becoming a better team? And I've tweeted a few people this weekend. And listen, people think I'm saying you can't criticize. There's still too many Man United fans sort of. I think loads of them spent most of Saturday debating, was it Garnacho's fault for the miss at the end, or was it Rashford's? Why even bother with it? It doesn't need to be debated. We won the game. Let's watch our rivals play. There was no need to bring that conversation up, in my opinion, the next day. There was no mileage in it. It was just one of those things that happened. Oh, Rashford should have played it further ahead of him. If Rashford does that and then he misses, you'd have said he should have played it shorter. Depends on your agenda. But I listen, a lot of people said I got overgassed on Friday. Of course, I was happy to win. There was loads of areas for us to improve on. 2 games running now, Community Shield in this match. Opening 20 minutes, we were not good enough on the ball. We were far too passive, and we got dominated in both those games in the opening 20 minutes. But then, just like the City game, we had large passages of control, domination, and really good football. And on reflection, one element I'm really annoyed about, and this is more from not an aesthetic element, but more of I would have loved to have seen what the rhetoric and the narrative was had Bruno's second big chance, a really good interplay, the ball from Casemiro. If that goes in, maybe there's a different feeling. And I use that example because Liverpool's first goal, the one that Slot scored, the first goal on the Slot, the one that Jota scored, the football was beautiful. And I think that sent confidence through the team, sent confidence through the fans, and you sensed it from fans online. Man United scored that goal after 30 minutes with beautiful interplay. I think it changes that game, not just because of the scoreline, but okay, this is starting to work. Even against City, we had loads of really good play, created chances, but didn't score them. And that's a really important thing for us to start doing, is scoring goals. The bit I was most concerned with is how vulnerable we looked against counter-attacks when we started to go for it. And that, for me, is, I think, partly needs to be addressed by the players being a bit more composed and not just knocking it long. But equally, we've got to go out and get Ugarte. And it looks today like Fulham are going to put £30 million in for Scott McTominay. We're going to go out and get Ugarte. I think we need someone like him. He's superior in every way to Scott McTominay in possession, but has more legs and more athleticism than an aging Casemiro to really help protect the back line in general play and against counter-attacks. And that deal in itself, I think, is really going to help us. But overall, I think it was a good display. Obviously, really, really important that we got the win. Loads to work on and improve on. But I am enjoying watching rivals be, I think the word I'm looking, I don't know, I will use the word rattled somewhat. And I say that because I look at Man United and Chelsea, and I feel that we're in, and Chelsea fans won't like hearing this, but I feel that we're in similar positions to one another in the sense of 2 massive clubs that have fallen from grace, that are trying to rebuild and get back to where they want to be. We've been in the mud for longer than Chelsea, but I feel that the different reasonings and different situations have gone on, but we're in the same place in terms of what we are as a football team. But when I see Chelsea doing things, when whoever they're buying, whatever they're doing, rival fans are laughing at it. Rightly or wrongly. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they're laughing. Oh my God, seeing what Chelsea are doing. Where with Man United, the response is salty. The response is frustration. The response is almost anger. It's almost annoyance from people in many ways, as opposed to, see what they've gone and done now. We were laughed at for 10 years for the decisions we made. Now what we're getting is anger towards what we're doing and frustration. And I'm enjoying that as a Man United fan. I think for the first time in a long while, rivals are looking at us and saying, oh, do you know what? They've appointed some good people running the club. They've made some good signings. They haven't overpaid. The players they're selling are kind of the players that they should be moving on. And I think there's an element there that is worrying to rivals, that if this ends up being the correct move, Man United might be able to progress, because there was no way we were progressing with the previous regime and the way in which we're being run. And I even saw it in the media on Saturday. I was listening to TNT Sport and they were reviewing our game. And the presenter said, do you think Ineos and the Man United board could help to improve Man United? And the pundits, one said it, they all agreed with it. Look, but the board ain't out on the pitch. The board don't win your games. The board ain't picking the team. 15 minutes later on the show, they all stood there and waxed lyrical about the Ipswich owners and board that have turned the club around and gotten back to the top. And I tweeted about it, and this is the response I got. Why are you beefing with Ipswich? Which was straight away, for me, they know I'm not beefing with Ipswich. They know what I'm saying is true. We're being told as Man United fans, our board can't fix it. It's all about the players. But every other club that does well, their board gets lauded. So look, there's a long way for us to go. My feet are very, very firmly on planet Earth and on the ground. There's loads of things we want to improve on. Loads of really good aspects in the game as well. I want more from it. But as I say, I'm enjoying watching so many rivals be angry and frustrated over what was, a decent little opening day win. It wasn't even amazing, in my opinion. It was just good. So imagine if it does become amazing, what the air is going to taste so salty, brother. It's going to be seagulls everywhere.
Perry, do you know what it is? As a rival fan, I just think there's an element of fear and respect, because I hated it from when Ineos came in. When you appointed Barada, Wilcox, Brailsford, whatnot, I know there was that narrative, he only's good in cycling and whatnot, because I knew you'll start identifying what the team actually needs. And I think you've slowly but surely seen it. Even against us, right? A lot of Liverpool fans won't be happy with what I'm about to say. Even in the preseason, I only look at performances, not the scoreline. Even in that game, you were kind of bopping us pillar to post. We were just more clinical, in my opinion. I think the 3-0, whenever we got in and goal, we were clinical. But you saw your patterns of play, and I think the more Wilcox and the Baradas and the boardroom identify players that your team needs, it's annoying. I'm not going to lie, it's annoying. And this is why we wanted the Glazers to stay as long as possible and the bankers to stay, because we knew you wouldn't improve.
And that's exactly it. We were laughed at before. Oh my God, you've done this, you've got, and I'm even the comments, and I can take it, and I love seeing it. Terry, but your midfield was open on the counters. But I've already addressed that. I haven't sat here and not mentioned that. I know it is, and we need to improve in loads of areas. I still think it's a 3-year process until this squad is exactly what we want, and we're playing the football to the optimum level on a consistent basis. But I see green shoots of improvement, but this is where you've got to nurture it and keep our feet on the ground. You can praise the improvements without getting carried away. You can ask for certain areas to be improved without slagging your team off and going crazy. And I honestly don't feel that there's any reason for Man United fans today on the 19th of August to be angry about almost anything at the club right now. Yes, you want to get back to the top. Yes, we want to get there, but it's going to take time. And I think it was a good start. And I also want to shout out a man like Mazza, who played at right back. One training session. I was so impressed with him. What a debut that was from him. And I don't mean this rudely about AWB. I don't. And I hope he has a great career now at West Ham. But there was times where Mazza got the ball in tight areas and he could just jink past someone. He could use his left foot when he needed to. And it felt to me, it was like, oh, it's so amazing. Yeah, it was the amount of times AWB, he was an amazing tackler, but the amount of times he tackled himself in those scenarios over the last 5 years was crazy. So, yeah, I thought he had a really good debut for us as well. So, shout out to him.
It's funny, with Masraoui, you've kind of signed the complete opposite of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. You signed someone who's really good on the ball and is really progressive, but he might struggle defensively, but because you don't play, look, he's not playing in a team where they're going to constantly get attacked week in, week out. So he will look a lot. He will look a lot better.
Yeah, but even with the defending that he didn't really put a foot wrong. Like, I didn't see a moment where I'm like, oh, like that was really bad for him defensively. Like, he was pretty strong. I was surprised because I thought, again, like you say, he's good on the ball. He's got a poor injury record throughout the year. So I thought, is he going to be a bit lightweight? Is he going to be a bit easy to push off the ball? He was actually pretty strong. He looked like he was up for it. Some good tackles in there, some good slides. And I think we've got a smart signing. Like, I really do. And people will look at everything that we do and be like, oh, it's rubbish because Man United did it. You know what I mean? That's where we are right now. And
all of our signings, though, every single signing we have made has technically raised the floor at Man United. And we were never going to fix all the problems, but Maswari is technically far superior to AWB. Lindelof leaving as an example and De Ligt coming in, the floor's been raised. Anthony Martial, when he was fit, was actually technically very good, but Zirkzee's come in and has that about him. Lenny Euro, technically superior. The midfielders we're going to lose, Ugarte, potentially Sanderberg, technically superior, which I think is key. But we have had some breaking news. We will come back to United in a minute. Some breaking news. Nottingham Forest are working on a deal to sign Eddie Nketiah. 25 million, including add-ons, is the opening bid. It's been rejected, but talks continue. Arsenal still pushing for that 30 to 35 million pound Giuseppe. Man like Eddie could be on his way out soon, and Nottingham Forest stepping up and making it happen.
Oh, muted. Very nice. No, I'll be honest. Everyone should be unhappy about that, to be honest, because the second he leaves, just know that we're signing a striker. So that should be bad news for everyone else. But thank God, man. We've been waiting. I've had confidence in it anyway. You know what I said, Terry. I think that Arsenal know that someone's going to come in for him. And I think now we'll get the money we want. And this is why Arsenal fans have to be a bit more patient with things. We're not in a position where we have to be worrying and crying about every little thing that a club does. So I'm happy, man. And if that's their first initial bid and we've rejected it, that means we're probably going to get the 30 million that we want. Saying we want 30 to 35 million. So I think we'll get that for him, and I think he'll end up going Nottingham Forest now. So that's great news because I really want this Gyökeres guy. We still might not get Gyökeres, but I just think that I want him so bad. So hopefully this can happen. Yeah.
How dare you? He's been at the club for how long? Helped you out last season. How dare you? You should,
bro. At least I say his name. Unlike some people, bro. I'll say his name.
I've said it once today by accident. I've said it,
and I'm happy with the
by
25 million. And the reason I'm happy with decline 25 million is I've just seen today or whatever 25 million for Oliver Skip. Now I'm sorry, but he's a striker as well. I'm not saying they're these levels and all this stuff, but a striker going for that price when they're getting that for Oliver Skip. We need to get at least
Spurs here have made it easier for the likes of McTominay and Eddie Nketiah and the like to be sold because they've got 25 million pound for an absolute scrub in Skip. I mean, an absolute scrub. So that makes it it's set a little benchmark, and it's Scott McTominay is superior to him, and so is Eddie Nketiah. I agree, but 35 mil. Romz, what do you think Arsenal are going to do? Do you think it's going to be an inside forward or winger, or do you think they'll go for someone like a Gyökeres?
I don't think Arsenal are signing a forward. I genuinely think after Merino, that's it. I just don't think. I think Arteta looks here. We've got enough faith in Havertz. Trossard will contribute as and when he comes on. I could be wrong, but I genuinely don't think Arsenal are going for a 9. And I do think the Havertz trajectory, I know Chelsea fans will hate to hear this, and Real fans, I think it's going to continue going up and up and up. Whether you think he's a good footballer or whatnot, I'm not saying he's clinical, but because of the volume of chances he will get in this Arsenal team, I do think Arsenal are going to put faith in him, which I think will be to their detriment because I still think he's not the needle mover to bring them to the league. But I can't see Arsenal signing another striker. That's just my opinion.
Arsenal's issue isn't a goal scorer or isn't goals, it's clutch. That's what they need. They need a forward or midfielder who is clutch. because when they needed the goal against Newcastle, couldn't get it. When they need the goal against Aston Villa, couldn't get it. When there's these tight moments, when there's tight games that cost them points this season, which weren't many, you were lacking in clutch players, and that's all they need. That's one more clutch player in that team, and I think that title can go to Arsenal. I really do, and I don't know who it is. Is it a Gyökeres? Is it an inside forward? Is it an attacking midfielder or someone to complement that midfield? I don't know, but they do need at least one more signing, and it has to be a player who's just got that mentality to get the job done. I don't know what that would look like, but I think that's all they're missing is the goals. They got goals for days. It's a clutch moment, clutch player.
KJ, do you think they will though? I know we probably know they need to sign him.
I think they will.
Bro, listen, first, we're not Liverpool. Yeah, let's just say that. We're not Liverpool. Yeah. I had to get that dig in.
I'm starving. I'm starving.
Yeah, I know you're starving, bro. I can imagine, bro. I've been there before. We signed Peter Cech and only Peter Cech in one window, bro. But like, listen,
that's a legendary keeper. Don't chat. That's a legendary.
Henry, you know what it feels as well. There was the summer you signed no one as well. So
we're the only team in Premier League history to not sign a player.
But Spurs, that they sign players and still know how we all feel when you don't. You know what I mean, I think
you'll sign a winger.
No, I think we'll sign. I think we sign a striker. I generally do, because
if you do, it's going to be Tony.
It doesn't, for me.
God forbid.
The way we roll, the way Arsenal are now, and the way Arteta is. There's no way he sells Eddie Nketiah and brings in a winger when he's got a striker that can play a winger and a striker that can play multiple positions. So that means that just to me don't seem like something Arteta will do. If the striker's the guy that's going, that's where we're signing. And that's the reason I think Arsenal have been pushing more to sell Eddie Nketiah than Reece Nelson. Because I think if we were going for the winger, we would have been more pushing to sell Reece Nelson. I'm not saying we won't get a winger. Maybe it will. Maybe I'm mistaken. But from how I see it going, I think we're going to get the striker.
Not every sale is direct one for one, you know, my boy.
Yeah.
I think the fact that Jesus can play right, and hey, listen, Nobbins is not here, but I think there's an argument to say he's a better right winger than he's striker. I think the striker might be the play.
Do you know what Giuseppe as well? Don't you think don't you think there's a world where Arteta and Eddie just trust Havertz's trajectory? Don't you just think that because he's kind of proved? I'm not saying he's the answer, by the way, but he is improving game by game for Arsenal. He had a strong back end of the season. He scored at the weekend. Don't you think there's a world where they trust it?
Maybe, but I don't think so, man. Because I think that Arteta knows, and Arteta is probably sitting there. I'm not Arteta. I don't know Arteta personally, but he must be sitting there going, "I want this bloody league this season, bro." Like I would like we've come close 2 times, yeah, and there's been something that we've been missing. Why is he going to just put faith in? He might think so, but like you bring in Gyökeres, don't mean once again this Gyökeres guy has to be replacing Havertz. Like we play a lot of football. We're in Champions League. We're in all the cups this season. We want to go on all fronts in all competitions. So there's going to be position in for Havertz in the team up front in games. He can play other positions on the pitch. There's games where people say that he can't play the 8. Yeah, he's not an 8. Yeah, but there's certain games where you can put him in the 8. You can bring him on, or you can start him up top, and then you can drop him into the 8 mid-game, stuff like that. So I don't think that bringing in Gyökeres replaces Havertz. I just think it's a guy that can come on and be clutch. This season, I know it's only the Portuguese league and we've seen, but once again this season, 3 games, 3 goals, 3 assists from this guy. And I see his goal because now I'm watching
one of them were, one of them were quality.
The one where he ran down the wing and he just powered it into the goal, that one, that's what we need. A guy that can just smack it and it goes in. That's what we lack. Because
the thing is, though, right? If you sign Victor Gyökeres, I think Havertz and Odegaard will rotate in the 10. I don't think he'll move into the 8 because you'll have Merino, Jorginho, Partey, and Rice.
You can't rotate Odegaard with Havertz, man. That can't be done.
Odegaard,
you can't, at the same time, you can't
every game.
We can't expect Odegaard to play 54, 56 games. I think personally, you'll go out and sign a wide player because I think next year the striker will be Benjamin Sesko. That's the one. I don't like as much as. Sporting have lowered down the sell-on clause of Coventry. I kind of thought they're anticipating a sell, but the big thing for me is going to be this year. is Gabriel Martinelli. Gabriel Martinelli on that your left hand side's pretty much sorted because if Martinelli's not performing, you've got Trossard. You've got Havertz, Jesus, probably Trossard or Martinelli could play in that 9 role. But for me, it's when Saka gets injured, if he does get injured, that drop-off is huge. And that's why I think Arteta will bring someone in who can play both left and right so that there isn't a significant... Because if you look at Trossard to Martinelli, there ain't really much of a drop. I mean, last year there was because he didn't score a lot of goals. But let's say hypothetically Saturday you play, is it Villa? Imagine Saka's out for 4 months, right? Imagine he's out till December, like City had with De Bruyne. That's panic stations. That is if Havertz or Jesus or Trossard or Martinelli go out, it's kind of like, well, we've got rotation.
Henry, that is panic settings, but it'll be panic settings for any. It don't matter even if we have a winger because Saka's that guy that even him out for 4 months is going to be a bad one that we can't really replace. But do you not think that Jesus is an adequate backup for the winger position if we have a striker? And that's how I see it. And
as a winger, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, David's laughing. David's laughing. He'd be top 2 wingers in your club, bro. Jesus.
No, he wouldn't be.
Yeah. You've got faith in Mudryk. Yeah,
no,
allow it.
No. But even still, yeah, Mudryk's not top 2. Mudryk ain't even top 2. Bro, Madueke's a better winger than Jesus is.
I think that's
this Jesus guy is
wait. It depends what type of winger. If you're gonna go direct Madueke, but output. If Nobbins was here, Nobbins would tell you he had his best season in a City shirt on the right. So
yeah, but that's
he's onto something.
Nah, you wouldn't sign Madueke over Gabriel. Or maybe on injuries, but not on ability, experience, output.
Do you know what?
Come on.
Something Henry said, right? I disagree. I think if Arsenal don't sign a number 9 this summer, I think they wait for Isak. You remember what Cristiano Ronaldo and Hazard did, where they'll give 1 more year out of respect. They want to leave the summer before, but they just give that extra year. I think that's what Isak doing with Newcastle this season, regardless of the season Newcastle have. I think if he's available next summer, I think Arsenal go in for him as their number 9 for the next 4 or 5 years. Going forward,
I mean that could happen. I mean that only makes. I mean it holds water. It only makes sense so if they believe that Isak is exponentially better than Victor Gyökeres. If they look at them two and go they're neck and neck.
No, Terry. That's if they don't sign Gyökeres. By the way, if they sign Gyökeres, I don't think
I hear, but you could be right. I mean they could wait anyway if Isak is seen as the guy and he is exponentially better than Gyökeres. I understand waiting for that right person because if you've got, I think Gyökeres will score 15 goals a season. I think this guy could get 30. You wait for the guy that can get you 30 goals because although everyone wants to win today, a lot of your transfers should always be, it's like chess. I don't play it, but I understand the concept that not every move is about the next move. Sometimes you do something, you move a pawn for 5 moves time as an example, and you've got to be smart within that. But
I might be.
Is that 14, by the way, Giuseppe? I know it gets you're tingling right now. Is that 14? You know that's what you want.
Yeah, the
Henry Regen.
That's what he wants. I see. Look at him. You can see his eyes.
Isak was always a top choice for me. I said that he's the guy I wanted originally. The only problem with Isak is the injuries as well. He does get the injuries as well. I also think we could sign Gyökeres this summer and then next summer sign Isak and that would be fine, mate. Because I think Isak can play on the left.
That's a bit of a myth.
And that. But with Gyökeres, I might be clutching at straws, but Edu come out and said Arsenal fans shouldn't panic by the end of the transfer window, that we'll be happy, which for me is saying we're going to sign an attacker, probably a striker. Now, in the same day that they've submitted a bid, Sporting, for that Barcelona striker, that young guy that they're getting, that they're now getting. We're now selling Nketiah. So I don't know. Maybe it's me clutching at straws and that to think that Gyökeres, and we've been linked with him the whole summer, and it goes quiet, and then some things come out about it, then it goes quiet, and no one else has gone for him. I just feel that's the guy that's going to end up being at Arsenal.
I think the only way you sign him is if Nelson goes as well. If you sell Nelson and Nketiah, because it's two players. It's
not about money, Henry. It's not about money with Arsenal right now. It's about keeping the squad.
He's got what, £85 million release clause. That's a lot of money though.
We won't pay the release clause. They will accept less than that. But this is what I'm saying. It's not about money with Arsenal. This is the one thing I think right now that fans are getting mistaken. Arsenal haven't got the money. I think Arsenal have got the money. I think Arsenal are just not wanting to sign players without selling players. I think that's the main thing.
Obviously, we saw Arsenal win at the weekend. Good result. Loads more levels they can go up. But a big debate has come off the back of it. Who's better, Mikel Arteta or Unai Emery?
Yeah, that video was crazy. Now, if you're talking about a manager, yeah, if you're talking as a whole, it's no debate. It's Unai Emery. If you're talking about a man, the career, you can't deny it. He's won countless stuff. You can't. But if Man City, once again, I say it again, if Man City sack Pep Guardiola tomorrow, yeah, for some reason they find out he's done something, they sack him, and they get the choice to sign Mikel Arteta or Unai Emery. I'm telling you now, they're signing Mikel Arteta. Why? Because Mikel Arteta is more of the new coming manager. He's more adapted to the new game, the way football is now and stuff. I think that currently, if you're talking about currently as a manager in the league, I think Arteta is the better manager right now.
I think he's a better
cup competition is different. And I generally believe there's managers that are more of cup managers. I believe Unai Emery is a cup manager. And that's not a diss at Emery. That's actually quite a good thing to have. He won countless cups and that with countless teams.
Giuseppe, I think the City argument's a bit flawed though, because Arteta knows the club. He knows Manchester City. He's worked there. I think that debate's a bit flawed.
You can replace Man City with Real Madrid. You can replace it with Barca, Bayern Munich. You can replace it with any top club. Forget the City connection. If you ask most clubs if you would take Emery or Arteta, I think right now they would pick Arteta for longevity. You've kind of seen what Emery's about. I personally think Emery is one of those managers, like you said, he's good at cups and he's good for a certain level of club. So Villarreal, Villa, Sevilla. When he's trying to step into the PSG, when he's trying to step into the Arsenal, things just have not gone the way that you would want it to for a manager of his pedigree, right? So I just think he's a guy that give him an underdog, give him a team that shouldn't be where they are, he will get you.
I think that's a bit harsh.
Give him a Spurs.
I think that's a bit hard. He did a domestic treble with PSG and set a goal record.
Yeah, but bro,
it's PSG though, isn't it?
Give me PSG.
He didn't.
I'm doing treble.
I think that was the year before they signed Mbappe. I think that was when they still had Cavani.
And when they had Neymar and Cavani.
Yeah, it's still an unbelievable team. But
Henry, though, we've already spoke about what you look like on this show. Roy Hodgson, Uncle Fester. But if you're the only person to enter a beauty contest and you win, does that make you any better looking?
No, of course. But like, so he's won a league title, whether it was with if it's the PSG or not. He won 2 French Cups, 2 Super Cups, 4 Europa Leagues, and 2 French League Cup winners. I think personally, if Bayern Munich have to choose, they choose Emery. But I think Giuseppe is right. City, however, would choose Arteta.
Who would you choose, Emery? Who would you choose for Spurs?
Depends what club I'm at. If I'm at a tiki-taka, high press, I choose
Arteta. You're Spurs.
Henry, this should be simple for you. Yeah.
I would choose Emery because we need to win a cup.
Yeah, exactly.
If we were
£700 million on a gel team that just needed a style to improve us to get us over the line, then I'd probably choose Arteta.
Henry, you say you'll pick Emery, but someone in the comments mentioned it as well, and I was thinking it too. Bayern Munich chose company out of everyone. Which shows that they will value style and youth and upcoming more than necessarily the older guys who've won trophies.
Do you know why this is such a hard debate? Especially when I watched I think is it Yardman on AFTV, Yardman and Don go at it, and it was great entertainment. I enjoyed the debate, to be fair. But it's so hard from an Arsenal perspective to debate it because there are lots of football fans out there that don't do what us 6 are currently sitting here doing, and the 4,500 odd thousand people watching live, and that's sit and have regular conversations, detailed conversations about other football clubs, other managers, other players. There are a lot of people and a lot of Arsenal fans that only really care about people when they're at their club. So Unai Emery's been at Arsenal, and for whatever reason being made, he failed. So for a lot of Arsenal fans, it's I don't care about his CV. I don't care about what else he's done in his career. Yeah, he is fouled at our football club. So the idea that you can come and tell me that a manager that finished above him last year in the league as an example and has taken that team and gone to another level, because Arsenal are now at a very different level of performance and consistency to what they were under Unai Emery. I can understand why an Arsenal fan would say you can't even fathom that he's a better manager. But I also see it from outside of the fan sphere of CV-wise, Unai Emery is better. He has won more, he's achieved more, he's been everywhere. So this argument, when you hear these arguments, both points make sense to me. Both sides of the argument make sense. Arsenal fans are looking at it and saying the man was here, the guy fouled, we had to get rid of him, his approach didn't work. We actually gutted everything after he left because he kind of added on top of the Wenger era, and we've improved since. Equally, I understand the argument that one guy's CV is littered with trophies and success, where the other has won one trophy in 4.5 to 5 years. So it is a really difficult debate. For me, and I'm going to get called a twerker again here, but I don't care. If Man United needed a new manager today, I would go for Arteta over Unai Emery. But mine is based partly on style of play and partly on the fact that Unai Emery, just like Poch, when he's had the bigger opportunities at the bigger clubs, I think he has fouled. I think Unai Emery would be amazing at Tottenham. Hang on. Because I believe, let me just finish my point though. I think when he's at clubs up to a certain size and stature, I think he flourishes. I think when that spotlight is beaming on him and he is feeling warm, I just don't quite think he's the guy, an individual. Right down to, and Arsenal have communicated this, like his communication skills were an issue as well. Now, they've obviously seemed to have improved. He ain't having those problems at Aston Villa, but I would still probably just marginally go for Mikel Arteta, although I know it comes with risks because he doesn't have the CV that Unai Emery does.
Terry, you can argue that. You can, sorry, bro, one sec. You can argue as well with that he won the Europa League with all these teams, beating the likes of, he knocked us out, he knocked you guys out, he knocked many teams out to win that. When he got there with Arsenal, he crumbled. Absolutely crumbled, embarrassing the way we lost to Chelsea.
And
also, can I ask a question? What's his transfer? What is his Champions League record like as a manager?
He's been in
he
it
got
once.
to be fair, he got to the semi-final against us with a Villarreal team and narrowly lost.
Yeah, Giovanni still up front, by the way, in that game.
Yeah,
very
other than that, Terry's right. The pressure. It's when he's not got the pressure of.
He had 1 year at Arsenal, right, with a back four of Monreal, Petr Cech, Koscielny, Mustafi, and Lichtstein. He got you to a Europa League final in his first year and finished fifth. Arteta, look, as a tactician, style of play, as a coach.
Can I ask you a question, though, Henry? Sorry.
Henry, just before you go.
Emery's been managing for 20 years.
Just before you go, Henry.
I understand that.
Henry, I agree with you. That me personally, I'll pick Emery, but do you know where, from an Arsenal standpoint, and this is where emotion gets involved, where the pendulum would swing right in Arteta's favour? Arteta took over Emery team and won a trophy with that Emery team. So I think from an Arsenal perspective as well, that's where the pendulum swings even further in the direction of Arteta, because he won a trophy. What a lot of Arsenal fans pride themselves on. I want to win.
No, I agree. KJ. Yeah, I agree. And this is the thing. Neither would be my top choices. So again, when people say, why would you take him at Man United? We've created a hypothetical scenario where they're the two choices and you've got to pick one of them. They both come with major risks. And this is the thing about most managers in the world of football right now, barring Pep, barring Klopp, Ancelotti as well. I can't think. There's three. There's no other manager in world football that doesn't come without a big question mark and a debate next to them. Diego Simeone's done brilliantly, but again, he's done it at one club and he hasn't done it outside of Spain, and you can make that argument. Every other manager, you could throw a number of reasons as to why you're worried or you've got concerns about them. Sorry, go on, Romz.
Go on. I was going to say, don't forget Ten Hag. He's not had a trophy this season.
Yeah. But this is the thing. Every manager's got those question marks over them. And this is the problem. And I see people go, but Unai Emery didn't get £700 million to spend. But Unai Emery didn't perform well enough to be in a position to stay on long enough, because that's coming from Maradona. And it's a case of, well, Roy Hodgson didn't get the same investment that Klopp got. But Klopp, Klopp got more investment because his performances were there. And this is where I am digging out Standards FC. This is where Standard FC, in my opinion, are poisoning the minds of football fans, and they're becoming, too many people are becoming reductionists, because I understand that winning trophies at the end of the day is the most important element for your football club, but short-sighted reactionary thinking and decisions too regularly leads to your downfall. Look where Chelsea are right now. Look where Man United are right now. Short-termism thinking, quick sackings. Oh, let's throw money at this. Let's do this. Let's trying to win now when you're not ready to can always create problems. And I would look at it this way. Looking at how Unai Emery's Arsenal play, looking at how Villa play, looking at how Arsenal play, put your hand on your heart and be honest. Who's more likely to win a trophy this season, in your opinion? Unai Emery's Arsenal, Arteta's Arsenal, or Unai Emery's Aston Villa? Genuinely, who's more likely to win a trophy?
Unai Emery's Aston Villa.
I was just about to say that.
I think you're lying. I think you're lying.
Look at Terry. I've generally got them down for the Carabao Cup.
A team that hasn't won a trophy in what, 2, 3, 4, 5 decades? Yeah.
Terry, the game changer is Emery, because I've already got them down to win the Carabao Cup. I think
to be fair, they should have won. They should have won the Conference League. Let's be honest. Like they didn't. They lost Olympia. What I will say for Emery's defense, even against my own point about his time at PSG and Arsenal, when he was at Arsenal, what was the state of the club that he was also in? What Arteta has now been put into, the changes that they made while he was there has put him in a better stead than he would ever if they stayed in the same thing. PSG, listen, we all know about PSG's hierarchies and a load of foolishness. So is it fair for us to say he can only operate at lower clubs? But when those two clubs he's been at who have been big, both been run poorly, is that a fair reflection on his ability as a manager?
KJ, to that point, Arteta come in to that crap. Arteta changed that.
No. He didn't change that. They were changing that for him.
But Arteta come in and said, the only way I come into your club as the manager is this, and this. This is my long-term plan, and this is what I want to do with the club. And they've obviously seen it and said, yeah, it's time, because this Unai Emery guy hasn't done it. Now, yes, maybe Unai Emery stayed at Arsenal, could have done something. Do I think Unai Emery would have ever challenged like this to win the league? I don't think so. From what I was watching when he was at the club, the way he played, I rate Unai Emery, and I think if you're talking an all-round manager, he's a better manager. Yeah, Arteta's got to get something over the line now, of course. Also, to say that you think they'll win over us this season is just hopium or something, because like there's no way.
No, I agree. But I still think trophy. I still think again, if I was to sit here now and go, cool, let's put some money on the bet, then we'll see whose arseholes go and actually picked Arsenal.
Can we say neither? You can put money on neither.
Yeah. To your point, KJ, again, I think the argument's fair, and it's ironic really, because if somebody picks Unai Emery, you're going to get gooners that go mad at them. If somebody like me says I'd probably slightly side with Arteta, simping, it's a really close call. And I think there is merit in the argument on both sides. But if we go back to where this all stemmed from, which was Arsenal fans arguing about it, for a lot of Arsenal, I remember Chelsea fans talking about Jose when he's at Man United, and they were like, don't care. I don't feel bad that he's fallen off. Like, why? Look, he did it. No, it wasn't that way around. It was Spurs fans. Sorry, I got this wrong. That when they wanted Jose sacked, everyone's like, yeah, but he's won this, he's won that, he's won the other. And but he ain't my Tottenham team isn't playing like that. My Tottenham team isn't doing what Chelsea's back-to-back winners did. My Chelsea team isn't doing what my Spurs team isn't doing what Inter Milan were doing. Therefore, the CV is irrelevant. So I do get it from an Arsenal fan's perspective that they're like, great, he's done all these brilliant things at other clubs. At our club, he was awful. So I do get both sides of the argument. Viewers, though, I want your views, want your opinions on this. Some super chats before we get onto the final subject of the night. First, where's Don, MIA? Yeah, Don was too busy. He was too busy. Come on, bro. You need to defend your Enzo. Second, no joke. I'd actually take Zirkzee, Hojlund over Jesus and Kai Havertz. Brilliant striker depth.
That's a
combo.
Yeah,
that's a combo. That is a combo. I can't lie. That's a combo. That's a combo.
As a pairing, not individual. As a pairing, yeah. It's conversation to be had.
I think there's more goals in the in the United one.
I think you have to. I think this is a bit of recency, like getting gas bias, bro. There's no way in hell, right this second, you take that. I can hear it. I can understand. I know you. Man United fans, fair enough, but I just don't.
Giuseppe, be honest. Who would get you more goals out of those two pairings? Who would get you more goals?
I think Havertz and Jesus. Because what are we? Hold on. How many goals did Hojlund get you last season?
16.
In all competitions or in the Premier League?
Yeah.
He got 16 in all comps.
Yeah, you got 16, bro.
Yeah.
You got 5 in the Champions League.
Havertz in all comps got. 1 minute, let me just double check before I say. I know he got 13 in the league.
He's about to be like, he got 30 goals.
You know what? Giuseppe, could you say it's recency as well? Because Havertz only performed like this from January onwards. So,
what I'm saying,
but he needed to mold into the team. That's like.
Hojlund.
What about Rasmus? What about Rasmus?
No. Hold on. Listen. Hey, listen. We're gonna no. But Havertz come in from Chelsea, from that trash club, that David supports, that ruined him, that tried to blame everything on him. The reason
Giuseppe, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to trump you though. Hojlund came into a club that was being run like trash. He joined the trash club. Do you know what I mean?
Actually rate Hojlund.
I know you did. Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. It's one of those things, right? If you put Zirkzee and Hojlund in a full-flowing Arsenal team, I think they score more goals than Jesus and Kai Havertz. Equally, if you put Kai Havertz and Jesus in Man United's team last year, I think they do barely anything.
Maybe.
I
think that you guys are disrespecting Havertz. Jesus, I can slightly understand the Jesus, but I think Havertz is the one that we've got to put a bit of respect on.
Again, as someone who's got no horse in the race, if I had to rate them 1 to 4 on form right now, Havertz is 1, Hojlund is 2, Zirkzee is 3, Jesus is a very clear 4.
So on average.
The average. No.
You know where you're a hater, though. You know where you're a hater.
No. If
Havertz played one game.
Let me explain. If Havertz gets 20, Havertz might get 25 goals this year. He could do it. But big man, Jesus might get 3. And then, and then the average is done between the other two.
It's a really good question. I do want to spring through some of these. Havertz starting 18 times as striker and scored 13. It's a good return. It was a good return. Emery revisionism is hilarious. Wanted to swap Saka for Zaha. Had us conceding 30 shots at home to Watford and 14th after 200 million was spent. Give Mikel Arteta 20 years in management like Emery and he'll surpass him easy. That's also fair as well. We are comparing two people at very different ends, but then it isn't fair. We're asking who would you employ now today? So it is what it is. That's the question. Emery won Villarreal their first ever trophy in their history, so he can definitely win a trophy with Aston Villa before Arteta wins one with Arsenal. I didn't say he couldn't win one. I said, who do you think is more likely with how they're playing? I mean, a lot of this is what's interesting. I'm not saying no one on this panel, but on the last panel, everyone was predicting Villa to fall off. Now suddenly he's winning a trophy before Arsenal.
My thing with Villa is I think their cup form affects their league form, so they'll drop in the league. But I think they win a trophy.
By the way,
can you imagine? Can you imagine? Let me throw this out there though, just for banter. Can you imagine if Unai Emery's Villa win the Champions League?
Oh, it's crazy. Madness.
Can you imagine that then? Can you imagine the Arsenal implosion with their ex now? Oh my, it would. Again, also, as an outsider,
to your question, if Villa won the Carabao Cup, does that count as winning a trophy before Arsenal? Because technically, you can win that in Feb.
Hang on a minute, it's a trophy, yes.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just making sure the rules is clear.
Oh, yes, but then it would be circumvented if Arsenal won a bigger one later in the league.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
By the end, I get what you mean.
And the trophy Arsenal win if they win it later will be more prestigious.
More prestigious, unpopular opinion: Arsenal should move for Raheem Sterling.
That's a very unpopular opinion.
Very. Unai Emery has managed for 20 years, almost 5 times longer than Arteta. Emery's CV most definitely will be better. It was a nonsense argument, to be fair. This is the same kind of debate when it comes to clubs and who's bigger or better. Historically, Unai Emery is bigger, but not better currently. It's a fair point there, Victor, my old mate. If Arsenal don't add goals to the team, it's another second or third place. Dignified failure again with no clutch goal scorer.
So that's
Zane
it. Clutch. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. Zane here says, if Eddie leaves Arsenal, does it mean he will go in for Tony? Tony has been left out of the Brentford squad. But Tony looks like he's heading to Saudi, bruv, to be honest with you. He looks like he's going Saudi. This was for Nobbins earlier, but we didn't get round to it. Sorry, it says, question for Nobbins and the Italian guy. So the Italian guy, Chelsea fans were booing because of the style of play. How long did it take you guys to adapt to the possession style football and the fans react to it?
As the Italian go, I'll answer because Nobbins ain't here. To be fair, we're in different, like, comparing Arteta and Maresca, it's hard because what Maresca has compared to what Arteta has, like, is completely, like, levels difference. Like, Arteta had Mustafi and these guys. Maresca has all these players and he's signing all these players, like, so it should be able to do it in a shorter period of time. I think you need to start seeing it by the end of the season, by this season, midway through this season. Chelsea have to start seeing that. If you're not seeing that, then I don't think it will be coming to your team. Not that you have to be performing and winning in that style, but you have to be able to see it coming to fruition.
Yeah.
And then next season would be when it properly implements in and you see yourselves going properly for something.
Yeah.
Again, I still think yesterday there were very clear signs of what we were trying to do. I personally, but that's just me.
Ivan earlier, he said that if Arsenal don't win the Premier League this season, can they outpace a rapidly rebuilding Chelsea and Man United next year? Would they cause them to catch up? I mean, Arsenal can't get that much better, nor can Man City. So, I mean, there's not much they can do. If Man United and Chelsea get it right, there's nothing they can really do to stop us getting close to them, if that makes sense, because they're already almost at an optimum level. If you look at the points totals, the win percentages, etc. But yeah, not winning it, I don't think. The only thing not winning it could do, and this is I'm being fair here, if it was another season where Arsenal nearly won it, you could start to see motivation get lost because it is hard to keep failing. Some people, it feeds them. Other people, it becomes like a disheartening for. But I don't think there's anything Arsenal can do. I mean, it's on Chelsea and Man United to catch them and improve our standards, not about Arsenal, in my personal opinion. If we get Ugarte at United, it's an 8 out of 10 window.
Depending on sales, and if we get a midfielder with Ugarte or a left back with Ugarte, I think it'll be 8 out of 10. So, yeah.
Terry, the disrespect by some fans towards Edu and Arteta would stop soon. Emery couldn't rebuild my team. Arteta came in and did that. Hashtag respect the man.
In reply to AJ, respect is earned. Once you just get over the line, I think we'll all shut up. Just win. Just win.
You guys, the thing is, what I agree with what AJ saying, because he's not actually talking about you guys. He's saying okay, I thought he was saying Arsenal fans. Sorry, he did say some fans. With Arsenal fans, it won't change, mate, because the same guys that are now going, Unai Emery is not this better than we are, Unai Emery, are the same fans that wanted Unai Emery out of the club.
In fairness, Lawless got absolutely done. I can't wait to cook him on Friday when he's on. He started tweeting about how, basically saying that Unai Emery was better. And then the Gooners went and found all these tweets during the Unai Emery era where he was ripping into him. And there'd be a lot of Gooners. And I did see that in the debate. I thought Yardman made some brilliant points. But when Robbie basically said, but I remember doing fan cams with you and you hated Unai Emery, he just went silent for a few seconds. And it was kind of like, that makes it harder. But equally, there's a comment here that says Emery had zero respect to the players. This is what I would also throw in there. And we don't know all of this 100%, but also just how you fit it in at that football club also makes an impact. You can be really good at something, but just not be the right fit for a particular football club. Romz, I've got 5 minutes before, and I want to ask you a question, actually. Emery has been a manager since Arteta was playing at Rangers. Deep that his first trophy came 9 to 10 years in management. Comparing CVs is dumb. It isn't dumb when we're asking who would you take now today. Yeah. You have to consider everything. We can't discount that. Emery is no coach to cope under pressure. If Villa finishes 6th, no problem for Emery. If Arsenal finish 6th, everyone is on him. See the difference? I think that's fair. Very quickly before the end, Romz, how impressed were you with slot ball?
You know, the first half for me was dreadful, but I predicted, by the way, before the game, a 2-1 win. 22 years out of the Premier League for Ipswich. First day of the season, early morning kill. I knew they'll be up for it. The only positive for me is at half time, it couldn't have got any worse than what it was. I think at the first half, it wasn't sticking with Salah or Nunez. I think Szoboszlai was doing Szoboszlai things where he wasn't really playing the correct passes. Andy Robertson in this system, for me, it's a possession-based system. He needs to be a squad player. He can't start for us no longer. I know he's won everything and he's very experienced, but Tsimikas suits this possession-based system under slot. I think Van Dijk was giving away needless passes. I think Trent and Gravenberch were the only constants. For me, Gravenberch was man of the match. He was quality. I personally don't want him in the 6. I want him further forward because of his quality. He always looks to play forward, can receive it on the half turn, just looks very comfortable. But second half, we look like a different team. If someone that had never watched football before saw both halves, they'll be like, hold on, this isn't the same team. But I knew we would step it up. I had people message me during the game at half time and during the first half. Oh, you look bad. You look shaky. I'm like, just chill out. I've seen us in pre-season. Again, I don't look at results. I look at performances. Listen, I do believe in Slot. When you ask me, do I believe he's going to win the league or challenge? No. There's going to be that natural drop-off from Klopp and Slot. But I was impressed with the second half. I think Szoboszlai stepped up. I think Trent stepped up. Salah does what Salah does. You know, the output's always there. And I think even the changes, because I know a lot of rival fans and even Liverpool fans say stop comparing the two, but you're going to get comparisons with Slot and Klopp. And one thing Klopp did a lot is make late subs. Slot seems a bit more proactive. Kwanzaa, for me, didn't really have a bad first. I think it's getting very people taking out of context. He didn't have a bad first half. I remember he made one of the most important blocks for Amari Hutchinson went inside, and I think if it's on target, I think that's 1-0 Ipswich, and then the game is completely different. So Kwanzaa made a very good block. However, I do think other than that, Amari was giving him a lot of problems. Who was it on the other side as well? Delap was giving Kwanzaa a lot of problems, and I think
to be fair,
yeah, he was at City, wasn't he?
Yeah, City's academy. Yeah.
I think Slot said to himself, you know what, Konate might be a better fit to this game, and made the sub. He was very proactive, and I just think second half we went up another level, and they couldn't live with us after that. They could not live with us. What I would say, Henry,
go on.
Henry, just before you go, it is worrying for Nunez, in my opinion. I know some Liverpool fans might say it's early, it's first day of the season, but Jota and Nunez's link-up play aren't the best, but I think Jota's the lesser of two evils, and he's the better finisher. So I can see Nunez only really playing cup games, but I was impressed second half. First half, dreadful. Second half, they couldn't live with us.
Do you think, and this might be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but when eventually you sign a 6, because, well, you're desperate for one, do you think McAllister gets dropped to the bench? Because when I saw Gravenberch, like the passes in the final third, it was like, okay, where's this been the last?
Yeah,
this is what we saw at Bayern. He weren't really performing, but at Ajax, he played in a bit more of an advanced role. If you sign a 6 and he's a bit more advanced, and then you got Szoboszlai, where does McAllister go? And I know it's a squad game; you can have a lot of games, but I think he may go to the bench. And that sounds mad, by the way.
McAllister's obsessed with him.
Yeah, but Robertson's a much better fullback than Tsimikas, but it's a system.
Listen. All I'm saying is the man that's getting dropped is Szoboszlai. If we're going to be honest.
What, and then you put McAllister
No, KJ. I think most Liverpool fans will agree. If we sign a 6, it would be... I think most Liverpool fans would want Gravenberch and McAllister as the 2-8. However, I do think, because this is where fees come into it, where we spent so much on Szoboszlai, I think Slot will persist with him until it gets unforgivable. Like, you know what, I can no longer play you. But I think if we sign a 6, it will be McAllister and Szoboszlai. And I think Gravenberch, unfortunately, comes back to the bench, which I wouldn't want, personally. I wouldn't want that. I think Szoboszlai his performances haven't warranted him starting for us. But because of the fee, and I think upstairs will say, look, you have to play him, I think it will be Gravenberch that comes out the team, in my opinion.
Do you know what I was impressed with? I mentioned it earlier with Liverpool. The first half I did think was poor, but some of that was the exuberance from Ipswich, and they actually killed their legs. It was stupid, really. I think they put far too much into it. They came out in the second half, the sun was shining, and they just looked, the drop-off was massive. But I think what will really help Liverpool is that passage of play that led to that first goal. It was beautiful. And although some players may think it consciously, some it might be subconscious for, but it's that moment of, this football works. And sometimes you need and that's why I was gutted that some of our really good football against City and Fulham hasn't led to a goal. Because if you start scoring goals from it, the confidence starts to build up in these players. And the one great thing for Liverpool is they're almost working in the opposite of Man United's and Chelsea's, where there is a lot of confidence, but they're changing a few bits. And they start scoring some goals, all that Klopp confidence will shoot straight back into these players. And I hear a lot of people talk about replacing great managers is hard. Yes, if you're coming into a bad environment like Wenger and what happened after Fergie. But I think if you're going into a club that's being run well with a great mood, it's the opposite. Where with Chelsea and Man United, if we start missing chances and have bad moments, all the PTSD, the stress and the angst from the previous few campaigns, that creeps into the mindset of these players because, we're there again. I almost looked at some of the United players on Friday night at times and thought, they're going to start feeling like they did last season. The crowd noise sounds the same. The surroundings are the same. You start worrying and stressing. And I felt like Liverpool went the complete opposite way. As soon as they got that goal, as soon as that football was being played, I didn't notice that it wasn't Klopp managing you. And that's a compliment to Slot because in that second half, you just looked like the electrifying Liverpool you've been pretty much for the last 7 or 8 years.
And to add to that, some of the principles are still there. Off the ball is very similar to a Klopp team still. We still press high, we still win the ball. But I think on the ball, it favours a lot of our players now because we do have a lot of technicians, your Elliott Shaw, your McAllister, your Gravenberch. The only worry for me is if Slot persists with Gravenberch in the 6 against the bigger teams. I think when we play the Arsenals, the Man Cities, the Aston Villas, he could get found out in that 6 role. And I think he's too good for the 6. I think where he receives the ball in the half time and he always looks to play for, you rarely see Ryan Gravenberch playing side to side. He always wants to split lines and break lines. So for me, I think he should replace Szoboszlai in an 8 role. But to be fair, the Szoboszlai second half performance, and I'm not just saying this because of the assist, he was actually making right decisions. He actually grew as the game went on. But I think Gravenberch in that 6 against low blocks, it can work, but against the better teams that will press us, it might not work. That's the only I can't even give that as a criticism for Slot yet because it was against a team that we're goals better than. But I think
No, I totally agree, mate. I agree. Slot needs to stop taking pictures like an Instagram model who's got the flow out to Dubai each weekend. Yeah, that picture is a bit mad still.
It was a bit mad, it was.
Louis Spence is what I thought it looked like, reminded me of. Emery would never get rid of Aubameyang and Ozil no matter what they did. Arteta sent them packing. That's a real coach in my books. Score predictions tonight, Henry?
4-1 Tottenham.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think the system, I think with the only thing I can't get my head around is why we're not playing Kulu on the right because I think Leicester's
When's the lineups come out?
Yeah, they come out. They come out like hour and 15 minutes now.
Winks masterclass today. Yeah.
Do you know what? Do you know why they've done that? Do you know why they've done it? They won't admit it. It's because people will start putting on their bets earlier now because they know what the starting lineup is. All in conjunction with Sky Bet.
I think the midfield we've got. I'd rather have seen Archie Gray over Bentancur, but I think with Solanke, with Johnson, I know why he's gone in because it's going to be low cross. I reckon Solanke will get a brace today. The only thing that's in the back of my mind is Vardy's record at home against the so-called Big Six is very, very, very good.
Hasn't he been injured? He's been injured a lot.
Is he still playing, Vardy? I thought he retired. Oh, jeez.
No, he's still playing. Also, when did Leicester get Buonanotte? I swear that's like Brighton's. That's like their boy.
Yeah, no, they got him on loan. They signed Bobby Reed from Fulham.
Bobby Reed.
I did not realize they did that until the other day.
Nah, they're getting relegated. Every time that man's in the team's going down, man.
But they're gonna have a midfield on a double pivot of Harry Winks and Ollie Skip. So like, if they stay up with that midfield, if they stay up with that midfield, they've done wonders. But I think there's a lot of goals with Solanke in there. The amount of low crosses we put in with Son and Johnson. I think, I don't think 4-1's like everyone in the chat saying that's shit. I don't think that is. This Leicester defense is absolutely toilet.
Yeah, Val Face.
Minimum we should get is 3 goals tonight because it's gonna.
2-2.
Nah,
I think
honestly,
first 10 games, and then you'll see a drop off.
Apart from us this weekend, has every top 6 team won?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're drawing today. Sorry, Karen.
And if you want to go further, David, top 8, even Newcastle and Villa won as well. So
yeah, long day for you, Henry. It's got to happen.
I think Maddison's going to get a goal as well. I think he's destined to go back to the King Power, bag a free kick or something, and then run over and kiss the Spurs badge.
Oh, you're away as well.
I think it'll be tighter, Henry. I think it'll be a 2-1. I think they'll be rocking. They're back in the Prem.
I think we're going to have a lot of games this season where we're going to win like 3-2, 4-3. We're going to concede so many goals this year. I reckon we'll do between 65 and 70 goals we'll concede, but we'll score a lot. Last year we conceded 61, and the year before we conceded 66.
Henry, do you know who I'm excited to see? I only watched one of your preseason games against Hearts, but Bergvall looks like a player. He looks like
Bergvall and Mikey Moore look good. Mikey Moore's not on the bench. But I think the thing is as well, if Maddison doesn't have a run of good games, I think he'll be dropped immediately for Bergvall. I think there's a serious player in there. But
we will be live, ladies and gentlemen, after that game. This show is going to redirect you to that. So make sure you're here for the match reaction in a couple of hours' time. I want to thank my panel. I want to thank all of our viewers, all of our super chatters. You've all been amazing as ever. Until next time, look after yourselves. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.